Cooper Lighting Solutions. At Cooper Lighting Solutions, we build forward-thinking lighting solutions that make people's lives safer, while making buildings, homes, and cities smarter and more sustainable. We deliver an industry-leading portfolio of indoor and outdoor lighting, lighting controls, and smart lighting systems. We question, we seek, and we solve. Because building a better world means asking tough questions and pushing harder for answers. Together with our customers, we create solutions that build a better world. At Cooper Lighting Solutions, we push past the ordinary to build brighter. Cooper Lighting Solutions is a business unit of Signify, the world leader in lighting. Together we have a shared purpose to unlock the extraordinary potential of light for brighter lives and a better world. Thank you for joining us. This webinar is about to get started.
Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Tyler Matler. I lead our controls product management team for Cooper. And today we're going to be going through our WaveLinx Lite solution. So we'll go through the functionality, overview on it, some of the new features and new hardware associated with it, and wrap it up there with some of the specific components. So going into WaveLinx. So WaveLinx is the Cooper digital lighting control solution. So WaveLinx is our main digital lighting control solution. It is split up into three categories. So we basically have three technologies: the Pro, Lite, and Cat versions. So what that means is that we have two that are room-based. So we have a Lite version, which is a Bluetooth. That's what we'll be talking about today. And that is our 802.15.1 protocol. And then we also have a Cat version that's also a standalone version that there's a separate session for. Feel free to attend that one. And that is Cat 5 based. That's a wired system. And the key here is that our Lite and Pro systems are, while both are wireless, there is one key difference in that the Pro is a networked control solution. And when I say network control solution, that means it enables the entire facility to have connectivity from one central location, whereas a room-based solution has each individual room or area individually controlled, and they are not interoperating between multiple different rooms. So that's the key difference between what we'll be going through today with our Lite system and what you'll see on some of our other WaveLinx products with Pro and Cat, in that they have those capabilities to be networked, and they are network-based solutions. So a little wider scale on those ones, and a little bit of a difference in terms of the individual control. So what does that mean in practice? The Lite system here on the left versus the Pro on the right, and one of the key takeaways for today is really the bottom portion of this, and it is that the WaveLinx Lite system, because it's a Bluetooth system, is all device to device. It creates a Bluetooth mesh, and there's no hub required. So there's no area controller in this solution. All of the devices go ahead and operate with each other for communication. They do not need some central controller to communicate to them. And as such, that's why they are really based around our occupancy sensors and motion detection. So that is where you'll see the real meat and potatoes of our system is based around that solution specifically. So whether it's wall station, power packs, and fixture integrated sensors, those are similar for both Pro and Lite, with the key difference being that once you want to go into scheduling and have the ability to have advanced features, scheduling, floor plans, backnet integration, that's where you would go to more of a Pro solution. The Lite solution is primarily focused on occupancy-based sensing and wall station control, while having that digital capability of programming through a mobile app. So while some other standalone systems might have some similar capabilities, the Lite system allows you to do this all with the flexibility of just doing it with a mobile app alone. So that is one of the key factors for the Lite system. So how does this work in practice? So the all those devices, like I was mentioning, they all are Bluetooth based devices. So whether it's a fixture with a sensor, tile mount kit, switch pack, or otherwise, all of those devices talk Bluetooth and they form this mesh network. And then they talk to each other. And what tells them to talk to each other is the WaveLinx mobile app. So to get them to be able to communicate together, they're ready from as soon as they get shipped and powered on, they are ready to go ahead and pair to other devices, and then they get pulled into the mobile app. One key factor here is that all of the data is stored on our cloud portal. So this is a free service that we have. There's no charge to this. And what we found in the past is that to support our projects ended up being a lot of manual effort in the past. If there was a panel on site and we'd have someone going out to site, a new building owner, for instance, would go to this panel and not know what the programming was, how to update it, what to change, or even if there was any programming in there. And so what we found is that the cloud portal really helps to alleviate this concern. So instead of having to go ahead and go through this for having someone to come out on site, this allows us to be able to store the backups and then have each of the individual users manage it individually without having to come to us to say, hey, can I get this database, or can you send a technician out to reprogram? That can all be done from the mobile app that the user has. And so once someone goes to site, they can transfer it over, or they can manage it accordingly with other people as well. So a lot of capabilities there, and we'll go through a little bit more on what those capabilities entail here in some coming slides. And then all those devices get paired and then synced up to the cloud. So one of the things I would really stress is the ability to have that upload that provides a backup. So if anything does happen to the device, it's not just lost forever. Once it's stored on the cloud, then anyone can go ahead and use their mobile device and log into the system, as long as they've been shared the access by the original commissioner. They can go ahead and access that from a mobile device accordingly. So if I'm working with someone else, we can both be able to see what is going on the site and access that information accordingly. So how does the system work functionally? So the left-hand side is really what we see in terms of about 50 to 60% of the installation are just going to be lighting fixtures with integrated sensors. That's really the bread and butter for the system. It is integrated sensors in those fixtures that ship out and are either grouped together or just left to operate in independent operations. So if they're independently operated, then no changes there. You can go ahead and leave them as is. They work out of box. There's no additional programming needed. But if there's something that needs to be changed, maybe you want a shorter timeout, you want something to be very energy efficient, and you want a 5-minute timeout versus the standard 20-minute timeout, then that can be done through the mobile app. And it can be done very quickly by accessing that mobile app, scanning those devices in and changing those parameters accordingly. And likewise, if there's wall stations required, so more often going to be on those ambient fixtures, think of a troffer, or the one on the left there. That one's going to really be able to control those spaces versus a warehouse application where you may have fewer or no wall stations versus a private office or an open office area where you want to have that actual manual control in the form of a wall station. And so the ability to do this without having to run any additional wiring is really one of the key benefits because of the onboard sensor. It's just the standard wiring for a fixture, just the hot and neutral, and no additional runs. You're not running dimming wires between all these fixtures and not worrying about zoning. No concerns over that. Everything is done from the mobile app, so it can be done very easily and quickly and changed just as quickly as well. So very good option in terms of that. And really the key is going through, choosing the fixtures, choosing the control, and then the programming tool is your phone. So everyone has that in their pocket almost at all times. And so all three of those are very straightforward. All right. So there's two main types of grouping or options for grouping. You can either do a not grouped option or a grouped option. So what the not grouped or standalone is this is for independent operation. So if the fixtures all are intended to operate independently and not have them operate with multiple when any one of the devices senses occupancy, what you can do is you can adjust the trim levels, the unoccupied and occupied lighting settings, as well as the hold time. And this is more for larger spaces. Think municipalities, parks, recreation spaces, or any area where you've got this spacing greater than 100 feet. So once you get beyond that 100 feet, that's where you start to see the limitations of a Bluetooth connection. And that's where you will have the independent operation. So think of this more as the standalone, your typical, where you would program this, walk up, program your sensor, and then move to the next one. And again, this is only for those spaces that you need to have a change in the parameters. They work out of the box, but maybe you want to have a different setting. Maybe you want it to be a little less bright, and so you turn it down to 30% instead of 50%, or you want to have it remain at a higher percentage when it's unoccupied. So those are all settings that can be changed from the standalone operation once you get into it. So that's for an integrated sensor. Now, what we also have is the option to do it with our standalone ceiling sensor as well. And so typically what has happened in the past is for a ceiling sensor, you have a number of dip switches on the back. And so to change the parameters on a ceiling sensor, what has to happen is you have to go to each individual ceiling sensor and make adjustments. And you're pulling that device out of the ceiling, finding a ladder, pulling it out, going through, making the adjustments on the dip switch, then walking to the next one, and so on and so forth. What this allows a user to do is they can go ahead and change the parameters on that ceiling sensor without having to find a ladder or touch the device at all. By going through and using the Bluetooth capabilities from the sensor and the WaveLinx Lite app, it can actually be programmed to operate and have that same standalone capabilities that are in the previous slide and operate independently. So what this means is that these sensors do not communicate with other sensors. There's no mesh network form, but that's just a way to change the programming so you can do it from the ground without having to go up and make changes to the actual dip switches. So these sensors still operate in a standalone fashion, just like you'll see in many ceiling sensors that are commonly utilized, but they can be done and changed in a lot easier fashion, and rather than having to touch them individually. And a couple of ways you can do that is you can actually do that through a template option that we'll go through here in a second, where you can create a template and then upload multiple sensors at once. So you can upload that to 3, 4, 5, 6, as many sensors are in range, and they'll update the template. And then you don't have to worry about any changes on that one, or did you hit the right dip switch just right? Was it up on this one and down on this one to make sure it was correct? You can go ahead and make those changes from a template and assign that. So on larger projects as well, very useful feature by allowing a user to go ahead, use that template feature, apply it across the board, and then as soon as it's been applied, you know that all the devices have those updates and don't have to worry about whether you got it just right. One of the other new features that we're really happy with is the sensor status screen. And I'll go through this in a second, but this is a way to show the live status of the sensor. So if you've got 3 or 4 sensors in a space and you want to see, okay, which one's triggering the lights to turn on, and do I want to adjust sensitivity, you can go ahead and see the status at all times and be able to access that and go into the device specifics and make changes accordingly. So if you did want to turn off, whether it was the acoustic, or if you wanted to turn off the sensor briefly for troubleshooting, you could do that from one location without having to unplug all the different sensors individually, one at a time, and walk through it. So really saves a lot of time when you're going through and wanting to do any troubleshooting or making modifications to the system as a whole. And then one of the devices that it's used with is this power pack. So this will provide the power to that sensor. So what happens is the sensor on the previous screen that has 2 options. There's a low voltage option and a line voltage option. For the low voltage option, the power comes from this. This is really a power supply. It doesn't have any radio on board, so there's no Bluetooth capabilities. It is powering up the sensor and providing the capability to power the load coming off of this device as well. So that means it'll power those fixtures and be able to turn them on and off accordingly. It also has the capability for a Form C relay for BAS integration. So that has the option of a normally open dry contact or a normally closed dry contact, depending on how you wire it. So that's the Form C relay, and takes that input from the sensor and then goes ahead and utilizes it for the BAS integration. So very easy to do that without having to worry about more complex integration. It's just the wiring that provides that capability accordingly. And then one of the key notes here is that it does have backward compatibility. So for our OAC sensors, it can be used for those for our previous versions as well. So lot of capabilities with this device. Now, from a comparison, this is just a quick one for reference. So the WaveLinx Lite sensor versus our OAC sensor. This is a previous generation. This is one that still has our dip switches on it. And you can see there that a number of capabilities for the Lite sensor, with a couple of different options in terms of the line voltage coverage, as well as some of the secondary technology turning on and off. So a number of benefits to it. I'm not going to go through every one of those right now, but it really does show the advantages that you have with the OCS sensor as a whole. All right, so a couple of the wiring options. So there's a couple of ways that this can be wired, and what we'll go through is we'll go through a couple of those now. The top right here is a very standard auto on and auto off with a local switch, and that's a basic operation to go ahead and provide that capability where you've got the local switch, you want this in a room, and you just want to have that on-off capability with the sensor and with the switch pack. And how it would wire is just like we're showing there, where you've got the 4 wires going to the switch pack and the 1 wire that's coming off the brown switch input from the sensor. And that provides that capability to go ahead and have the switch. All of this goes ahead. You can have a single room with 3 devices, and all of this is independent. So these are all standalone. Once again, this is not networked together. They're not grouped with other devices. You don't have to worry about the Bluetooth range and whether you're going through too many walls. This will operate independently and have that capability accordingly. Now, the one on the bottom right, that one's going to have a little bit more coverage. So say you have a little bit larger space, maybe you have an open office, or maybe it's a bigger conference room that you want to have the capability for on-off, but you also want to have the front and back of the room covered with the ceiling sensor and have that independent operation. So you can do this. We're showing 2 sensors here. You can do up to 5. It's really not an issue from a wiring perspective. And what you can do is wire that up accordingly, so that switch will go ahead and synchronize. Now, one of the great things that we've done on this one is This switch input has a special patent process that our engineers did a great job on, where what happens is it actually senses that the switch, and what will happen is when you hit the switch, it will make sure that both of those sensors operate in the same fashion. So what this does is it allows the sensors at all times to stay synced together and does not have any issues with sync or cycling out of sorts. So it's a great patent that the team was able to come up with there, where it really senses what's going on with the other sensors without any technology required. There's no additional networking or anything that's done. They don't communicate over wireless. This is all just done through the wiring and the ability of those sensors to go ahead and sense what's going on from that brown switch input. So really good job on that one. It's like I mentioned, a great patent that they were able to develop and allow for this sensor capabilities. All right, so another couple of wiring configurations here, and then we'll jump into some of the functionality. So the two zone for the top right. So this would be a 2-zone auto on, auto off. So if there was one sensor, but for 2 zones, you go ahead and have the functionality there on the top right based off of that. And then for the bottom right, if you did want to have some type of auto on, auto off, and you wanted to add in that dimming capability, you would go ahead and just replace that RSP-V with an SP20 and then use one of our WBSDs. So a little bit different way of doing it, but it ends up with the same result, just adding the dimming capability. So great options there for different applications depending on the use case. So from a functionality perspective, there's 3 main ways of going ahead and using this sensor. Now I've talked about the standalone primarily, but there are 2 different forms of standalone. There's one where you can go ahead and use this in standalone mode without logging into the app. And what this provides is it provides the ability for anyone to go ahead and quickly make modifications to that sensor and do it without having to log in and create their username and password. There's also an option for the standalone with an app user, and you can see that once you log in, you get a little bit of an additional feature in terms of some of the daylight calibration, as well as the templates and BAS tracking. So you end up with a little bit more when you actually log into the app. And then finally on the right-hand side, that's where you get into that network option. So we haven't touched on that, but the network capability is just like any other WaveLinx Lite device. The sensors are able to be operating in a standalone operation, like I mentioned earlier, or they can be used as part of a group with any other WaveLinx Lite device. It doesn't matter which device is included there. All of those are capable of having those included in them and can communicate to them accordingly. So really great flexibility, whether it's a quick standalone opportunity where there's only a couple in a space and it's just a quick programming and changing those settings, or it's a larger network project and you've got locations that you need a ceiling sensor as well as those fixture integrated sensors and wall stations. It can run the gamut and have those capabilities across the board. So all of those are very robust for the solution. And then from a standalone overview, so here's how this would look in the mobile app. So if you wanted to go in and program these and you didn't want to have anything, a new account, so a user is just going through and wants to change a parameter, but doesn't want to sign up and have a username and password created, they can go ahead and access them this way. And the first thing that it's going to ask you is to set a passcode. So the passcode can be set right there. It's going to ask you that before you get to any other thing. And the key here is that the passcode is stored on the device. So it is not a cloud-based passcode. It doesn't get saved in the cloud. It is on the device itself, and then therefore you can access it without accessing the cloud at all. And then once you've set that passcode, you can save it accordingly, and also have the ability to recover your lost passcode. And one of the options we have here is if you do have something and you want to go ahead and recover it, you can work with our tech support team. And what happens is there's a little option on the bottom left there that says forgot passcode. That option will take you to a challenge screen. It's a little challenge question, and that challenge code provides the capability to go ahead and send that to our control tech support team, whether you call in or email them. And then once you've provided that, they will provide a verification code back that will then provide the capability to unlock that sensor, and you can change the passcode. So from there, that allows that update and the ability to go ahead and make that modification accordingly. Then you can get back and still have those parameters. So the key here is that it doesn't have to reset the device and turn it back to factory defaults. It goes ahead and unlocks the device for you so that you can update the passcode accordingly. All right. So I mentioned it earlier, but one of the real nice features that we got asked about a lot during the development of the product itself was about seeing the sensor status from one screen. And we've had a lot of this where there's sensors and multiple sensors in a room, and you just want to see what the occupancy status is. Maybe you're doing some timeout testing for a walkthrough for a certificate of occupancy, and you just want to validate that these are turning off and that they're timing out. And you want to do that without having to go in and peer into every single room or try to stay really still in every room. There are a bunch of stories of people having to kind of walk through these repeated times with a dip switch based solution and have to go through and spend a lot of extra time because they keep triggering them instead of seeing them on one screen. So now you can see the status on one screen, and you can see what happens to those individual devices. So when you're going through, you can select which sensors you want to see, whether it's all of them or you want to see just a portion of the ones that you scanned in, and you can select those ones and then refresh them so that you've got the live data at all times. So that'll keep refreshing every few seconds as it makes sure to keep that data live, and you'll see the adjustment on the hold time. So if someone's walking around in the space, the hold time will stay somewhere around 19-20 minutes if it's in its default 20-minute timeout, versus if no one's moving around, you might see it ticking down and then go all the way to 0, where then it's in an unoccupied state. So you can see it all from that one screen. You can go ahead and blink to identify with that little light icon on the right on each of those next to the person that's moving or not moving. And then from there, you can go in and change any parameters by clicking on the device itself and making changes. So all of that's capable of being done from the one screen there, from the sensor status screen. And then I talked about this a little earlier, and I said we'd go through it more. So what this is from a template standpoint. So once you log into the app, you have that ability to use the templates, and it's very straightforward, just as you would expect. The template tab is right there in the mobile app, where you can add and create a template, and then select the occupancy ceiling sensor settings. So that provides those settings where you can go ahead and access the settings themselves, make the updates to the template, change whichever parameters you want. Maybe it's the timeout, maybe it's some other factor that you want to adjust. Maybe you want a lower sensitivity, for instance, or maybe you want a higher sensitivity. You can go ahead and do that. There's 5 sensitivity settings on the acoustics, so you can really adjust as needed. And so in this space, maybe you wanted a little higher sensitivity because it's a very quiet space, or vice versa. And you can make those changes and then go in, and when you access the specific devices, you can, on that bottom row there, you can tap the template icon and load available templates. And then from there, you choose the devices and you go ahead and enter the passcode for them and upload. So once you've uploaded them, you've got them ready to go. It'll show successful, and then you can move on to the other ones, and you are done. So it'll apply those to multiple sensors at one time, again, without having to go in and find a ladder, access the device, pull them out of the ceiling, and then make adjustments to the dip switch while standing on the ladder. So some of the training materials, so a quick start guide as well as our product page. We do have both of those out there online as we speak, so that we have a quick start guide specifically for our acoustic ceiling sensor. So you'll see that out on our website. And then our CLSTN, so those of you that are familiar with our Cooper Lighting Service Technician Network, those trainings are available. So many trainings on this product, quick 1-minute videos for the most part. Most of these are quick hit, just a real quick one just to walk you through on how to do it. And then obviously our user guide as well, a good go-to there for some more applications. So went through a lot on the standalone, but as I mentioned, the kind of key to the system and really the bread and butter is around our networked and our sensor-based solution in terms of integrated into fixtures. So that means a lot of these are in the networked applications. So some of the key factors that you'll see in terms of the differences between a WaveLinx Lite system or another system is really going to be down to what capabilities do you have once you're in that app beyond just here it goes ahead and pairs two devices together and works as a group. And one of the key here is our user management. So we worked with a large site, more than 50,000 fixtures on the site. And what we were able to do is we came up with this structure based off of their feedback to go ahead and create user management. And what this allows for is it allows for facility staff to go ahead and manage different portions and different buildings across an entire campus. So whether that's going ahead and having one person have access to all of these, and then they can go ahead and assign different people to different facilities. That allows people to manage these individually without everyone getting bogged down in terms of the dozens of different locations and trying to manage through it in the app. It provides a lot better user experience, especially on those large scale opportunities and managing them individually. So you can have someone that's operating on the west side of a campus and have facility staff that are dedicated to that location. And then maybe someone's out for the day and you need to have coverage over on the east side. So you go ahead and can assign a building or two because there's a power outage and they need to go over and make a change or they want to have some update going on that day while the person's out. They can do that, and then the admin can go ahead and remove that access from them the next day when that person returns. So a lot of flexibility that's all done, once again, from the user perspective. This is not something that has to have someone call into the Cooper Lighting tech support. Our control tech support does not have to be involved at all. On these, they are often never involved, and it is just up to the individual users to go ahead and make those changes and modify them, and then go ahead and move on to the next facility, whether that's a school or a campus or some other type of facility that you can go ahead and have that done through. So real good management from the app there in terms of being able to have a central location for everyone to view it. So templates, we went through that on the standalone, but it's also capable for network solutions. So it's not just a standalone option. You can also set this up for common configurations where you have zone setups, occupancy sets, trim levels, and so on and so forth. So you can do a template for both standalone or for a networked application. So you have both options, and it's able to be done for both of those. And we see this most commonly used on on those larger projects where you might have a lot of office space or classrooms that are replicated with the same sequence of operations, but it happens over the course of many rooms. And so instead of having to have one and recreating that each time, and you want this custom program that's specific to your application, you can do that with this setup very easily, and then go ahead and share that. So you can share that with another commissioner. I can just email that out to as many people as I want that are going to be commissioning this project. They will get a copy of that, and they'll be able to go ahead and upload it, use it accordingly. So a great option there for the networked solution as well as the standalone. And then our energy saver for the system, what that does is that basically dims down to half the light level once it's gone through half the hold time. So the standard is a 20-minute timeout. So after 10 minutes of the space being unoccupied, the light level will dim down by 50%. So that provides some additional energy savings, as well as going ahead and providing an indicator that, yes, this space has been unoccupied for some portion, but it provides that capability of having that energy reduced without having to go to full off after the full hold time. So really provides a little bit better user experience. And what we found is a lot of people like to have that adjustment in their space individually. And then a couple of devices now. So we'll go through a couple of these devices. The first one is our wall station. So there's two versions, a line voltage as well as a battery option. So the line voltage and the battery powered options both look the exact same. So you'll see them here on the top left. All three of those are the three configurations, and those come in both of those options. So you can have a consistent look whether you're going with a battery option or with the line voltage option. You don't have to specify and have some different appearance depending on the placement. They will all look the same across the board, so you'll have that consistency in aesthetics for the space. And then from a switch pack perspective, so this is a controller for more of a zone-based solution. And what this has is you've got the one on the left is a normal power device. This is our RSP, and provides 120 to 347. So for Canada has the support there, as well as having the capability for 20 amp loads. So the great thing about this device is it's multifunction. So you can have, it is horsepower rated, so 1 horsepower rating for motor loads. So if you do need to use it for motor loads, you can use it for receptacle. You can also use it for dimming on circuits, for lighting circuits. So you've got many different applications that you can use this for, but it's one SKU. You don't have to worry about having 3, 4, 5 SKUs and one for your motor loads, one for your receptacles, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. You can have the single SKU and have that used across the board. Now, on the right-hand side, this one's going to be for your emergency lighting. And we'll go into a little bit on how this works with our emergency lighting here in just a second. And what this does is it provides the capability to wirelessly provide a UL924 solution with another neighboring WaveLinx Lite device. So what do I mean when I say a UL924? Well, with controls, and especially with wireless controls, but controls across the board, what has to happen is when you lose power and go to a generator power, there needs to be a path of egress. So you need to have that emergency egress path. But if you have a control system that has the capability to go ahead and turn off, whether it's based off of occupancy or a wall station, you do not want to have that turning off during an emergency because it's timed out, or someone has turned the wall station off and it's still showing as all the fixtures are off, even though people are trying to leave the space. So what you need is you need to have an override for and that is generally termed a UL924 device to turn the devices to 100%. So in this case, we're walking through and we've got normal operation. These are at 50% and everything's operating normally. Normal power is present, utility power is coming in, and everything's fine. Well, what happens is when normal power is lost, you see on the right-hand side there's a little heartbeat icon. Well, that device is providing the NPS signal. And NPS stands for normal power sensing. So it senses the normal power and it's beaconing just like a Bluetooth device does. That's just its standard operation. Nothing different about that. And then when power is lost, it goes ahead and turns off. It does not have the power to go ahead and send out a signal. So it stops sending out its signal. Well, what that means is that our ESP, our emergency switch pack, goes ahead and forces all the devices that are wired to that to go to 100%. So now any fixture that is wired to that emergency switch pack has the generator power, and it goes ahead and goes to 100% for those devices, providing that path of egress and providing the capability for the occupants to leave the space safely. So how long will that last? That'll last as long as the generator is powered. So as long as the generator inverter is going ahead and operating, it will continue to stay at 100%. There's not a 90-minute threshold here. It's just as long as that generator is powered, it will stay on. It will continue to operate. There's no batteries, nothing like that. It is purely based off of that generator power. As long as it's receiving power and it is not receiving an NPS signal, it will continue to run at 100%, ensuring that you've got the occupancy and the egress coverage accordingly. Now, once power returns, comes back on, transfer switch switches back to normal power, and your other devices are powered back up, it will resume its normal operation. So now it will no longer go to 100% unless someone sets it that way, and it will go ahead and provide that standard capability of wall station control or timing out. So whereas previously during that generator power or inverter power, it will go ahead and stay there whether a wall station is being hit or not. In this case, it'll go ahead and respond to any manual actions or timeouts associated with the devices. So here's how that would look. So in the first kind of 3 to 5 seconds, you're going to have that ATS, that automatic transfer switch connecting over, and that's going to transfer from the normal source to an emergency source. Then when the emergency AC power is active, that's when those devices are going to go to 100%. So if they lost power during that transition, so in that 3 to 5 seconds, if that transfer switch took 3 seconds to transfer over and the emergency device was out without power for 3 seconds, as soon as those emergency devices, those ESPs come back on, it will go ahead and go to 100% output. So it'll stay there. As soon as it comes up, it'll go to 100% and stay there as long as that NPS signal is not present. The NPS signal in this case is not present. It'll stay that way and make sure it's still at 100%. And then when normal AC power returns, it'll go ahead and return to its normal state and respond to the manual commands accordingly. So jumping on from emergency to some of our other devices. So our light tile mount kit. So this tile mount kit provides capabilities for those fixtures that may have a little bit of a difficulty in terms of mounting them. So most commonly seen in our downlights. When you look at those downlights, obviously a limited application in terms of being able to fit a sensor in there, but you may want to have a sensor nearby and wire up multiple downlights to that single tile mount kit. You can do that and pair them with any of these options to the right. So that provides that capability from the WTK. It has both the junction box mount option as well as the tile mount option. So both those come with the kit. There's no special components. Again, try to make everything as multifunction as possible with one part number that does multiple different things there and has the ability for pre-installation as well. Now, if you did want to have that device, those downlights connected to the WaveLinx Lite system, but you didn't want to have a sensor sticking through a tile mount. You just wanted to have them connected to the system so you could control them. What you can do is you can order them with the WLN, the WaveLinx Lite node. And this node provides the capability of having it integrated into the overall system architecture, but not have it have a device sticking below the ceiling. So this provides the flexibility if there's limitations in terms of space, or if you don't want to have sensors that are protruding through the bottom of the ceiling, or if you just prefer to have this and want to go through a corridor, this would be one of the solutions that you could use. And the WLN nodes mounts to the back. They're a standard 1/2-inch knockout, and you can order that pre-wired from the factory here and have that capability pre-installed. So again, then you would only have to worry about the hot and neutral to that fixture. Same thing as an integrated sensor at that point. So I'm not going to go through every fixture here that we have, but we do go ahead and offer a range of ambient products with WaveLinx Lite. So that is something we have that comes across very frequently, is a number of devices. We're always adding more fixture families, and whenever we do, we go ahead and include WaveLinx Lite capabilities to those as well. Same thing with our architectural selections. Those we have the similar capabilities. And then from an industrial standpoint, you'll see it's a little different. What we have is it's a little bit more robust because of that larger mounting height. So because these devices go to 40 feet, that it actually uses a Zaga connector. So that's a twist-in connector that is used, and it has that capability to twist in and out and have the field replaceability. So if you want to go ahead and make an adjustment, you can go ahead and change that out. It also has a patented aisle block. So basically you can go ahead and change what parameters are seen. So that mask goes ahead and twists out, and you can go ahead and uncover some or cover them accordingly. So that comes with the sensor itself. This sensor is IP66. It's actually the same one that we use for both our industrial and our outdoor. So we keep a consistent look. You can see that Zaga connector again, and similar look to both because we use the same hardware approach for both to ensure we've got the consistency. And then what we'll do is we do load different programs to either one of these. So when we do the outdoor, obviously it's going to turn on at night versus the industrial, which will go ahead and have the standard operating with on when it sees motion. So a little bit different on the two. And the other key difference here is that the outdoor has 3 color options that will be bronze, black, and white. So there are 3 color options to the outdoor sensor versus the 1 for industrial. And then finally, a number of training videos. So these are out there as we speak, but we also have CLSTN trainings, like I mentioned, on our source catalog. You can go in, access those, and be able to take those. Again, we are updating those regularly. We have recently launched a bunch of new videos as we continue to expand that content and to add more. So please check those out as well. So that is what I had for today for WaveLinx Lite. I appreciate everyone's time on the topic today, and thank you all for attending.